Internet friend, this is me, MagicBrad, Bradley G. here in Fridley, Minnesota, the World Nurse Center headquarters of Synergy Cafe, Synergy Collaborative, and Synergy Lifestyle Academy, and Synergy Ventures, and Synergy Event Marketing. Stop that. So I got a new friend I just met. We were working on some stuff, and I'm going to introduce him soon, but for now, stand by.
Greetings, Internet friends. Welcome to another episode of the Synergy Cafe online show, featuring speaker, entertainer, close-up illusionist, and marketing alchemist, MagicBrad. It's the Internet lifestyle show about career, finance, relationships, spirituality, and wellness. We're moving the online chatter over to real-life activity. And now, please welcome your host of Synergy Cafe, MagicBrad.
Boom! I'm here. So I've got a new friend that I just met on the internet, and now I brought him into the real virtual life. We're a little closer to reality. I actually saw his face and saw his lips move. His name is Koehler, and I figured that out because of his name spelled like Kohler, like the motor, but it's not. It's Koehler. Of course, maybe then again, the motor might be Koehler too, and I don't even know it. In fact, it might be his great-great-grandfather that invented that motor. Let's go find him. He's in the green room somewhere. Where is Casey? Kaylee. Corey. Good day. How you doing, sir?
Good. You know, and I was thinking about your intro there, and it's like there's a time when if you would have told everybody that you met somebody on the internet, you know, that that probably would have been kind of a creepy thing, but not anymore, thank God. So
that's right. It all starts on the internet. You know, you got that COVID thing going on, so you don't dare touch anybody.
Yep.
So how the heck you doing? Where do you live?
I live in a town called Minnesota City, Minnesota, which is in the southeastern,
Sure.
that little foot on the end of Minnesota. They call it the Miami of Minnesota right down here because it's the warmest. It's one of the warmest spots that you have right on the Mississippi River.
Like by Pipestone?
No, other side. Go east.
Okay.
We're on Wisconsin. We're on the Mississippi River.
Okay.
So I mean, it's like the Mississippi River is literally like 500 feet from my house. Well, maybe more than that. I don't know. Whatever. It's that way. So you can't see my hand.
Have you lived there a long time?
I'm 51, so I've been here for about 50.6 years, or 50 and a half years. I was in San Diego for the first 6 months of my life, I guess. My dad was in the Navy. But other than that, I've been in Winona or this area, Minnesota City, Winona area for the whole time.
I pretty much grew up here, and then I spent a couple years in LA and Covina and Glendora, and then Studio City, Burbank area. Then I came back to Minnesota. Then I got married, and then we moved to Asheville, North Carolina. And I'm back here, and I'm actually a mile away from my house where I grew up. It's kind of
well, that's cool.
Deep roots, you know.
Brought you back. You came back.
So I was looking at some of your stuff, Corey, and this is the word that popped up for me is unretirable.
Yeah. So I guess that's funny that you said that, because at first I wasn't exactly sure we're going to talk about, because we both have so many irons in the fire. I was telling you that before we got on the podcast, but how we got to the unretirable topic is I've had like 3 different segments of my life. So I'm 51 now. In my mid 20s, I didn't follow the path. I ended up dropping out of college because I like to drink a lot. And, you know, what did that say? Early 20s, you don't know what the hell's going on. Ended up working full time at like, you know, places like foundries and, you know, like dirty blue collar jobs. And eventually I'm like, you know what? I got to get back to school and finish my school. I did that, made it into the office. So late 20s, early 30s, I'm in the office. And then, you know, 10 years is about 13 years after that, I was like, you know what, I need to get out of here. Like I thought that the idea was to get out of the factory floor, but then when I got, you know, and it was great in the cubicle for a while, but even that got old, right? So I needed to get the hell out of there. So then in my early 40s, I basically became like a freelancer, or I run Google Ads. I do a lot of marketing. I've done a lot of different marketing. I'm like a marketing freelancer. Google Ads is kind of my specialty. However, over the last couple of years, I've been helping friends, like, because when I first did this back in 2013-ish, you know, people thought I was nuts. They're like, oh my God, you're gonna you're just going to quit your job and put ads on Google for people. What the hell is that all about? It's not as crazy now, like, because we've been through the pandemic and everybody's gone home and all that. But like, I'm telling you, it was between my parents, my family, my friends, they thought I was nuts. Like, oh, you're going to do what? So since then, I've built up, I think I'm doing pretty good. I've been self-employed for about 10 years now. And along the way, I've had like friends come to me and like, hey, how did you do that thing that you're blah, 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 so I started helping people kind of find their own thing, just brand friends. And then about a year ago, actually less than a year ago, I started this new project called Redefining Retirement. And the whole idea was, one day somebody had asked me, I knew that I wanted to help more people like that, right? Like, cause I can't even explain the feeling that I had, like when I was able to not have to go into my job, after a while. So I want more people to feel that. So what started happening over the years is like, well, Corey, what are you going to do about retirement? It's great. You're your own boss. And it's like, you got a 401k, you got all, what is this stuff? Like, yeah, that's all great. But it's like every time I would answer them, I always thought to myself and ended up telling them that, like, I guess I don't really care if I retire because I just like what I do right now.
Right.
I mean, it's like, as long as I like what I'm doing, then why would I want to retire? Why would I want to like hit the golf course and do that? I mean, maybe if I want to do that, great, but the idea is I want to play offense, right? I mean, I have this idea of like, for me, I looked at retirement like, okay, there's the defense, right? Like where you save, you have your 401k, whatever that is, and that's great. Keep doing that if that's your thing. But I want to play offense as well. I want to be learning new things. I want to be able to go find more money to work on more projects to make myself more valuable. So that's kind of how I got to where I'm at right now, and that's why I started this blog that I'm working on right now, in addition to all the other stuff that I do, like music and what.
That's what resonated with me when I was reading all your stuff. Is I've been at that same approach. That why don't you just do what the heck you like doing, and then you just monetize it somehow, and you just continue to do it because the internet gives you access to everybody on the planet that's got a phone, and you just do what you want to do. And the music thing, I'm not musically inclined, but that's one thing that I think I'm supposed to get into, whether it be promoting, doing events for musicians, or doing marketing, or helping, or just listening to it. I'm not sure, but
and like, I mean, this idea of retirement really isn't a new, or not retiring isn't a new. It's new in our age, in our era. But honestly, if you look back in history, nobody retired. You know what I mean? Like you go like let's look at a Ben Franklin or something like that. I like reading some old history people. Like,
sure,
he retired when he was 40, but that's just because he retired from, being, working at the printing press and stuff like that. But he went on to do so many other things after that, invent electricity, take part in the Revolutionary War. And, I mean, there's so many things he did. He's got a laundry list. I have a blog post about it somewhere, but guys like him, Teddy Roosevelt, like all these people, these big entrepreneurs, big figures throughout history, they didn't just say, oh, I guess I'm done at 65 and I'm going to collect some money from the government and go play golf. Maybe they did, but I doubt it. So I think it's just kind of this modern concept that we came up with. And I think, I don't think we have to continue following that path if we don't want to. If you want to retire, great, go for it.
Retirement is this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely one way to look at it for sure.
Because we've been programmed into, you got to punch that clock, and we're going to give you this much money in this little window of 1 hour, and you're going to work these hours. If you work more than these hours, we'll give you a little boost to that. But then there's only 24 hours in a day, so you run out of time, and the boss can only pay you so much because he's got other things to pay for. So there's a limitation, and the illusion of I'll have this forever, because you can lose a job like that.
Yeah.
And my background is entertainment, doing magic as a kid. And then, it's a struggle sometimes. And you think, you know what, maybe I should get a job. But then you think about it, it's going to take me just as much energy to redo my resume. I could redo my brochure and then go look for people and start distributing these resumes. I could be handing out brochures. So why not? Why don't I just market myself with my brochures instead of a resume?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like everybody's got different, like that's the one thing. Like, you always get a lot of objections when you're talking about this with people, especially if they're like, they haven't been listening to this kind of thinking for a big part of their life, which I didn't. I mean, I was the guy that fell right in line with everybody else. I'm a child of the 80s, I'm a Gen Xer. And it's like, that's what we're told. It's like, hey, you get out of high school, you go to college, and then you work for 50 years, and then you can retire, and that's like really what you kind of believed until, for me, I guess it was probably until my mid 30s, like when this internet thing came along, and it's like you just started reading and seeing what was possible, and it started making me think a little bit more outside of the box. And then it was just like the light bulb went off, and it was just like, well, yeah, why I don't have to be here. And it was so free. It was so freeing. I can't even, it took me a while to get out of the cubicle, but
what's really weird about it now is people still think, okay, now I got to learn how to do something with email. I got to create a funnel and the landing pages and all that. The reality these days is if you can get at one of these things, a phone, and put it on a tripod, and then just, if your thing is like wood turning in your garage, just point it to you wood turning, and then put a little sign with your URL on there and create an affiliate link and start selling wood turning tools.
It's amazing. I mean, that's like one of the biggest things that I try to talk to people about, like just in life in general. Like when I'm out there, out and about with my friends, is there's so much opportunity out there, and it is so much easier in so many ways than it was like maybe when I started. I mean, when I first started dabbling on the internet, it was like, early 2000s, 2005. I mean, we're talking like, very early, pre-social media, so it's like, that was a different world back then. It wasn't easy just to fire up. I remember when I was doing my music stuff, like in the early 2010s, I guess you'd say, it was a pain in the rear to make a video. I mean, it's like, it was so hard to make anything that was decent. I mean, you could use a crappy webcam, or you had to get a big bulky, it just was very hard. Even in the late 2000s, early 2010s, it was very difficult to do some of the stuff that everybody has basically in their pocket now. There's so much you can do. The tools are so much better. A lot more competition in some ways because it's gotten easier, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, it's just, it's amazing. And I keep learning stuff all the time.
You can get in your own lane and just like create your own highway that doesn't have competition in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then it's not that. So tell me more about what you do as far as media buying with your media thing.
With this, this has been my main source of revenue for the last 10 years. And it started out, I started out doing like a lot of different things. I would do Facebook ads. I do any kind of ads I could do, but I have always been a Google search ads guy. I don't know what it is. I just loved it when I first started playing around with it and building ads on it in the mid 2000s. I forget when I did my first campaign, 2006 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm just exclusively doing Google ads. I had to whittle stuff down over time because it's just like, I tried learning every platform at one point, but as we know, everything just exploded. So I just stuck with Google search ads. That's and now good. I've even I've niched it down to be more like I generally work best with B2B sales and marketing managers like that, like smaller teams. Generally B2B. I mean, I have some other clients that are in different things, but those are usually the people that I can help the best, I think.
Well, I think that's actually I know because there's people that are selling widgets or they're doing car repair or hail damage or whatever, and they don't have time to learn how to do a Google ad where you can look at it and go bam, bam, bam. There's your ad. Give me my money. It's pretty simple.
Well, I don't necessarily say it like that, but yeah, that's pretty much that's pretty much the idea there.
I bring that up because I used to work with a guy that did exhibitor sales training, and he said basically you're saying how much money do you have and when are you going to give it to me? And you just got to figure out that soften that up a little bit. Like, what's your budget?
Yeah, no, that's a key element to trying to figure out if I can work with anybody or not, because in the old days I was a little less picky, but these days I try to refine it as much as I can. And that goes both ways. It's not just for, me, but it's also good for my client too, because it's like, if they don't have X amount of budget or they don't have a lot of things figured out, then it really doesn't matter. I mean, I'm going to have a hard time helping them, and they're going to have a hard time helping themselves because they don't understand some of the fundamentals of running paid ad campaigns and making
Yeah.
sure you're profitable and all that other stuff. So there is it's not totally selfish.
Yeah,
It's a mutual thing.
they think after they sent you the money that all of a sudden the phone should start ringing, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. It just it all depends on what the niche is, what the business is, how good their stuff is. There's all kinds of factors.
The cool essence of what you're doing with the Google stuff is they are searching. So they're either researching things or they're looking to buy now. So they're looking for the best price. So if you can get them two different, are they buying or researching?
Yeah. So it's like I always tell people this, like Facebook is more of something that you would call demand generation, right? You're just putting making your best bet. You're putting your billboard on the side of whatever highway somebody's driving along. You hope that they see it. You hope that you're interrupting them. The beauty of Google, and that I've liked Google, and the reason I chose Google Ads, like when I had to make a decision, is because it's very high intent, right? It's demand fulfillment.
Right.
We already have them. We have them at the starting line, so to say. Now we just have to put the best message up so that they come on in and they actually make the purchase. So we kind of cut out that whole demand creation. Although there's plenty of demand creation on Google Ads these days too, especially when you consider that YouTube is a big part of that now. So
But it's more intention fulfillment kind of thing. They're looking for something as opposed to an interruption, because that's what most even a direct mail postcard. I do a lot of postcards, and they get it in the mail, and it's sort of an interruption because I was looking for that paycheck, but here's a fucking postcard. What the hell's this?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah, and they all work together. I used to be like just a freaking paid search Nazi guy, but over the years I've definitely softened, and I've seen how it works, like all the platforms, and even old school marketing like postcards and a lot of that stuff will work together in harmony. Like you can definitely, I would never tell somebody not to do those types of things if it made sense, so
well, I'm using
there's a place for everything.
But on the internet, there's a lot of false positive stuff. There's a lot of bots that are around clicking things, and you think that you're getting traffic, but you're not. Whereas a postcard, I'm pretty sure if they scanned a QR code on a postcard, it wasn't a bot.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair assessment.
Yeah, I've gone back to stuff I can rely on with direct mail postcards and like live events. People come to the event, so I know that they're actually a physical human being instead of a crawler.
Yeah, that's an important thing these days. I think it feels like it's getting, I don't know, I sound crazy saying this, but I think in some ways it's definitely gotten easier to tell that, the legitimacy of people. But at the same time, but then I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh crap, there's this whole AI thing happening right now, which that's going to put even more into question as we go.
It's getting pretty powerful, but you can kind of still tell that your answers are too perfect.
Yeah.
I'm looking for some human error here. Yeah, it's going to change. I mean, I think AI stuff's going to be the new spam. Everybody's going to be creating blog posts that are just generated in 30 seconds, and there's going to be so much of it.
It's just like I've that's been like my biggest deep dive in my rabbit hole that I've been on in the last 6 months, is I'm just fascinated with all the AI stuff and how I can use it to do all kinds of things, especially like in marketing. It helps so much. And I think the big thing that people have to understand, there's a lot of people that are freaked out by it. There's a lot of people that think like, like you're saying, like, oh, you're just going to generate a lot more spam. But honestly, it's like anything else, right? It's a tool. It's like marketing, for instance. Everybody's like, oh my God, marketing people are evil, salespeople are whatever. And it's like, no, marketing is not evil or good or bad or nothing. It's just a tool. It's just like a knife. Like you can take a knife and carve up some dinner, or your caveman, you can take the knife and you can carve up some dinner for your family and feed the family. Or you could take that knife and jab it into your best friend's back. So it's like, it's just a tool. It doesn't matter. AI, same thing. And also too, I think what's going to separate the good AI, there's going to be certain AI you're just not going to be able to pick out from people. But I like, one of the quotes that I like is the one where they said, you're not going to get replaced by AI, but you're going to get replaced by somebody using AI. And I think that is the key thing, right? It's gonna, if you use it to make yourself better or to enhance your creativity and your unique self, you're not going to want to create, generate just a bunch of crap. And it will, I think, start to separate. People will start to see the difference. And I think going live, like we're talking right now, is going to be a big way to help you separate these days in like an AI situation too. So I don't know. Those are just my random thoughts. Stuff I've been thinking about for the last.
Tell me where this domain goes. This one, Planet Corey. Where's that? What is that all about?
That's my music site. So back in like 2009 or so, 9 or 10, I released. I never played music until I was in my 30s, and then all of a sudden I picked up a guitar. Well, I kind of always played guitar when I was younger, but I never like knew that I could sing. And then when I was in my late 20s, this internet thing came around. I'm like, oh, I can just go on online and look up how to play songs and all that stuff. I started learning some stuff, and then eventually I'd just be at like get-togethers or campfires, and I would just be like, oh yeah, kind of, like I start playing guitar, and then I'd start singing. I'm like, oh my god, like when did you learn how to sing? So I'm in my 30s, and everybody's like, I didn't know you could sing, and I'm like, I guess I didn't either until like right now. So I started doing that. I started writing some music, and in the early 2010s, I ended up releasing about 2 albums worth of music. And so I did that for a while. I played over 100 shows. And this, again, I did all this when I was like in my late 30s and in my early 40s. I already had a family, which that in a way presented quite a bit of a challenge, right? Because I had 3 kids and a wife. I couldn't just hop in a van and go tour the country and head down to Nashville and just chase my dream or whatever.
Right.
I had to work with what I had. And it definitely was, it was extremely rewarding, but at the same time, it was a grind, over the course of the year. So I ended up, I've been kind of on a hiatus for the last 5 or 6 years from like performing and doing that stuff, just because it was brutal for a while. And it's like music it can be great, but it can be thankless too. And you probably know this a little bit just from being a performer, like as a magician, right? And you're a magician. Yeah. So you know what it is. All the preparation that you put into it, all the stuff that you got to do to make sure you got a good show, that you're staying on top of your game, that you're practicing, you're doing all this stuff. And then you show up on Friday night at the local club and there's like 2 people there and they're pissed because you're not playing more Journey. You know what I mean? And it's like, so it's like that over the course of like 5-6 years, when you have 3 kids and you have a job and then you're transitioning your career to like your own business. And it's just like, at some point you're like, is it worth it? So I went through that kind of a reckoning at some point, and that's kind of why I've gotten away from it a little bit, but I still have, if you can't see them, but I have guitars, I have my recording stuff over here. It's like, I'm going to get back into it again. I just want to, I need space. I need things to open up a little bit more. And I'll get back. It's not going anywhere. I mean, it's still in me, so it still wants to come out. I have plenty of songs that I want to record and do that stuff, but yeah, I've just been on a hiatus. So yeah, like I said, I've done a lot of I'm dabbling in a lot of stuff over the years.
Well, that's another reason I kind of resonated with what I saw on the internet, because I'm in that place. I started doing magic when I was 4. A guy pulled a quarter out of me when I was like 4, so my brain developed around the illusion of what's behind the scenes, and it's still got a piece of me, but. The hard time of, I don't feel good, but I got this booking and it's January 12th and I got to drive downtown to the Marriott and it's snowing and I really don't want to go, but guess what? I have to.
Yep. No, that was kind of a good thing in a certain way, right? Like that's like back. I remember back when I used to book shows, I'd book all my shows like, I don't know if it was a year in advance, but it'd be like, a good 6 months in advance. I'd try to put together some sort of of calendar. And that was the thing about it. Like once I had something on, I knew that I had to go there. There was just this immense pressure that forced you to go through with it, right? Because there's many a show, like you said, where it's like I did not feel good. I did not want to do it for this reason, or there was something else I'd be rather do. But it's like you just have that pressure of like you don't want to. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to not show up for something, especially especially that stuff, right? Because
You
it,
kind
it
of
was
have
so
to when
personal to me.
Cargill cuts you a check for a deposit, and they're kind of depending on you being there. Unless you want a lawsuit, you got to show up.
Well, even for me, if I wasn't getting paid, because there's a lot of situations where I wasn't getting paid, I still showed up. It's like, but yeah, you're right, that deposit. But it was something about once it was on the books, it's like game on. Like I'm showing up, even if I didn't want to do it or whatever. But
These days
um,
with the internet and stuff, there's that guy that was singing that song about,
oh yeah, Anthony Oliver.
yeah, and he was a nobody, and all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, that's a definitely an outlier because it's not happening as much as because people are like, oh my god, anybody can do that. So there's probably
Remember,
a million people out there. What's
remember
that?
years ago when a guy recorded his son that was at the dentist, and he still had he's still under the gas, and he was all doozy. Yeah, he
Oh
didn't.
yeah.
I guess he made enough money off of that to pay for the kid's college. Everybody
Wow,
was
that's cool.
everybody's ranting on him about that's so cruel, making fun of your kid and in public and put him through college. So shut up.
Yeah, there's definitely a degree or degrees, I don't know how to say that, but like there's definitely degrees of exploitation, right? Like,
Sure.
that was kind of an innocent kind of a thing. But then you've got like that guy, like I seen this real thing. I don't know if you do. I'm kind of an NFL junkie kind of too. Like I really like NFL football.
Okay.
And Gronkowski, there was this little kid named Baby Gronk, they called him. He was like, his dad was pushing him. And he was a younger guy. I think he was like 9 years old, but his dad kept pushing him and making him do all the stuff that he didn't want to do. And it was getting to the point where like even like the NFL players like Rob Gronkowski that knew about this kid, they didn't want to associate it with him because they didn't agree with his dad was just taking it too far.
Right.
So it's like, but anyway, I didn't mean to put a damper on that example, but definitely that Anthony Oliver guy is fascinating. I remember when that happened. I mean, God, he had 2 million views on his video like in 3 days from nothing, and it was just insane.
Pardon the pun, but it just struck a chord.
Absolutely, it did. It did. Great pun.
Like when you do a Google ad for somebody with Koehler Media. When you do a Google ad for somebody, you got to put the right words and the right pictures and the right audiences and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden the harmony's there and boom, you hit something.
I'll tell you what, this is kind of a side note about Google ads, but songwriting, believe it or not, does have some decent relevance in writing ads. There is there's a cadence to writing Google ads. You can use rhymes in Google ads because you're just trying to contrast, you're trying to attract people. And there's something about like, that rhythm that kind of pulls you through like just anything else. So it's definitely, those have been two things that I never really thought, you wouldn't think would be related, but they are, songwriting. And just that goes for ad or just any ad copy and all that stuff, songwriting, ad copy. You got to be very visual, very pull out emotions. You want to evoke all the five senses, right? Like you want to, the more you can do that with your ad, with your song, with any communication, the better off you're going to be.
And baby steps, they got that thing called bridging too far, where all of a sudden you go for the close too fast.
Yeah. Yep.
You get a lot of that. You get these emails from nobody who the heck, from somebody from Taiwan or something that's going to help me with my SEO.
Yeah.
Trying to close me. I don't even know who this person is. You got to start with baby steps.
Yeah. There's some people that can pull that off, but then most people can't. And honestly, I think a lot of people, it's just like spam, right? Yeah. Spam wouldn't exist if people didn't actually like fall for it, right? I mean, if everybody sent spam all the time and like not a single person opened that email, not a single person bought or clicked on something, nobody would do it anymore. They'd find something else that would work to make money. But as long as spam works on somebody, it's gonna be around.
It's a huge, very affordable numbers game. They create their own servers, and then they got scrapers that go out and find everything with the @ sign in it, and then they start sending it to people, and eventually somebody's gonna bite.
Yep. So that's same thing with cold emailing, right? You're just blasting a bunch of people, a bunch of email stuff, and you hope that somebody clicks on it and signs
Well,
up for whatever.
what I've been doing is I kind of flipped the script and I figured out, because people say that people buy from those you know, like, and trust.
Yep.
So where I'm going with it is we do events, and the event isn't necessarily a business event. It might be swinging the clubs at Top Golf, or going over to some batting cage and hitting the balls, or go to the opera or the comedy club or a wine tasting and just get to know each other, then talk about the business.
Yeah. And that's kind of been around for a long time, right? I mean, like that's
Yeah,
like
you
an
can do that.
age-old human thing, right? Like, the more you can connect on a personal level, the business stuff will just kind of fall into place generally. Yeah, I used to not like sales guys a lot, but I appreciate them a lot more now that I've been in my own business for
Yeah,
a
you're
long
probably
time.
a little more savvy now, where somebody can't sell you on something that you don't want.
Yeah, and it wasn't even necessarily that. When I worked at my last full-time gig was a place. It was a custom lighting company, architectural lighting,
Okay.
and I was a draftsman. So I worked, like
I saw
3D.
that too in your thing. I did that also. I did electromechanical drafting and design.
Oh, really? Okay. So I was a mechanical draftsman. SolidWorks. I started out on an actual drawing board back in the, with a pencil back in the 90s,
Where I did it.
and I made through the whole progression up to 3D. But when I used to do that, I used to work in new product development. Sales people would drive me nuts, because we'd always have the stuff that we're working on, and they would be selling it before it actually worked, right? Like it'd be, it just is like, it's like, no, 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 no. I made the mistake of showing them like what we were working on, and they're like, oh, what's this? And it's like,
Here's
no,
the
no, 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 no,
blueprint.
it's not ready. And they don't, oh yeah, yeah, that's cool, it's not ready. But then they'd be out selling it the next day because they needed a good story in the boardroom or wherever they were out there. Um and it's just like, they used to just drive me nuts. But now I understand them, because like when I had to pivot to my own business, well, now you have to do sales, right? And you have to understand how to sell yourself. And honestly, I would say it's like the most underrated skill that everybody should have. I think every person, every child in school should go through some sort of
You
sales
should see
training at
it.
school. I mean, really, it's everything, right? It's like, if you want anybody to do anything, or you want to, it doesn't matter what it is. You don't have to be selling anything, because you're always selling stuff, right? I mean,
Even finding a spouse,
finding a spouse,
you gotta sell them the idea.
getting this worked when my kids were younger, right? Like getting them to eat their vegetables. That was a sales transaction, right? I mean, it's like, you had to figure out, where your leverage was, like how, so it's everything, it's everywhere. And a lot of people always push back on that. Like, and I'll be like, well, just ask somebody to dinner some night. If they don't want to go with you, like, well, if you want them to go, you have to figure out what it is that they want, and how, you have to answer their objections, and you have to bring them to your side. I mean, everything is like that. It's just transactions. And
Yeah.
so I have a much greater appreciation for salespeople. And I worked on an RV sales floor for about 6-7 months, about 6 years ago too. So that was another thing.
Well, Corey, this has been bunches of fun. We've gone for about a half an hour here, and I don't
Yeah.
like it too long, like a Joe Rogan type show. But is there anything you want to share before we I send you the green room? And if you want, by the way, I've got some digital hors d'oeuvres back there, and if you want, you can help yourself.
Nice.
They're very low cal, so you don't have to worry about gaining weight.
Digital hors d'oeuvres. Those, yeah, very low cal.
So what do you got? What kind of nugget you got for the folks?
Are you just asking like what kind of a nugget, as far as like
In general, in lifestyle, what do you think is really important?
I think for me, going back to the whole redefining retirement thing, I think that's, find something that you like to do, because in that you can do it as much as you want or as little as you want. Put yourself in control, because honestly, there's a lot of things that we don't have control of. And it's better than sitting there, because I did it, back in the early 2010s for 17 years. I sat in a cubicle for many years, and I hated it. And it's like, it just felt like such a waste, right? Like all these days sitting there, just wishing I wasn't there.
Yeah. You don't get that time back, right?
Yeah, you don't. So if you want a way to get out of it, then, start looking. Because if you're even thinking about it, then it's time. Then it's time to be thinking about how to get out, not what's going on. So I guess that would be my really rough
That's
advice.
that's a good one. I think that's a good tip. Okay, Corey, I'm going to put you in the green room. If you want to stick around, we'll have a little chat. Other than that, I'm going to sign this one off. I appreciate you taking time, man.
All right. Thanks a lot for having me.
Okay, go.
Appreciate it.
Peace.
Have a good one.
There you have it. His name is Corey Koehler, and this is what we were talking about. Unretirable. Give that some thought. It's kind of an interesting concept because a lot of people don't get it. They are still of the mindset of go to school, get good grades, graduate, get a job, save, and then you'll live happily ever after. And here's how you get a hold of the guy right there. That's his media element of things. And here's his musical element of things. Planet Corey. Must be all about it. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries, appreciate you taking the time. Be good, be kind, be nice. Did I say be nice? Yes. Be nice. See ya. Bye.